All right, what's going on, guys? So let's talk about the Jarek Leisek situation. Let's talk about all the bullshit that he's got going on and how he's going to try to spin this narrative to get himself out of trouble. You don't want to miss this because I'm going to break down exactly what he's thinking and how he's going to try to flip this case on its head. You got to remember, he is technically innocent until proven guilty. He doesn't have to prove his innocence. We have to prove his guilt. Now, I think that the defense he's going to use is going to be pretty interesting, and it's going to put the work out on the victim to have to prove her case. And as sad as that is, that's the reality, and that's the reality we have to have in this country so that people can't just be run over and stomped on and destroyed at the whim of anybody who wants to make anything up. Now, we're not saying this victim is making anything up. We're just saying that's why the law's in place. So she has to prove that this happened, and what I think his defense is going to be when this happened. So let's get into it. Let's break it down. You don't want to miss this. Let's go. Alright guys, so let's talk about how Jarrett plans on escaping these charges. Even though he's admitted to it in the emails, he's owned it, and then he's went and he's told Nugs that the emails are his public statements. So it would seem that publicly he's coming out saying, yes, it's true, I did this. But we have to go back to those emails to really get an understanding of what his defense is going to be. Now, the timing, when this happened. According to the victim, she was 9 or 10 years old, right? That's important. 9 or 10 years old. Jarrett is 7 years older than her. So if this happened when she was 9 or 10 and he's 7 years older, we're looking at him being 16 to 17 years old when these instances happen. So, him being 16 to 17, that changes this dynamic completely from his narrative and what he admitted to in those emails, his own public statements, which he says are the emails, which is that he was a 12-year-old boy, that this woman is trying to hold him accountable for his actions at 12 years old. How Jarrett's going to escape these charges, that's what we want to know, right? How does he plan to go around this and fight this? Why is he so cocky? Why is he so confident that it's all going to be all right? How is he gaslighting this victim in these emails and then turning around and acting like, oh, no big deal, shrugging it off while his world's falling apart? Well, here's how, all right? Jarrett is a very manipulative person. He spent his entire life manipulating the people in his life to get what he wants. He's good at making people see things his way. He's a fast talker, a good talker. He's a really smart person. Don't take anything away from him on that. Jarrett is a very smart individual. You don't get to where he is from where he came from by being dumb and lucking into stuff, especially with the background that he has that now we all find out about. You don't get to just say, oh, I messed up all these times, I'm a dumbass, and now here I am on top of the world, running a successful channel, bringing closure to families, becoming a multi-millionaire because of it. You don't get there by being stupid. So he's not stupid, and he's very manipulative. Now, these women in his family, it sounds, according to the emails and from what his sister has said and what the victim has come out and said, it seems like the family really supports the males in the family a lot more than the females. It feels like one of those families where the females are taught, hey, you just have to make the males happy. You do what the males want you to do. You belong to the males. It sounds like a family like that, does it not? So these women are used to being manipulated by men all the time. They're bred for it. They're groomed for it, if you will. They're groomed to take up for the men, to protect the men, to take care of the men, and do whatever the men need them to do. Now, that's great as an old school remedy when the man is doing the same thing for the woman, but it's terrible when the man is a manipulative bastard and the woman is being taken advantage of the whole time. You can't just let that roll. You can't just let that slide. But that seems to be the case here, and that doesn't just end when the man is no longer in control. These mind games stay in these women's heads. They stay on their mind. They keep thinking about that. They can't help but see the world the way they see the world because that's how they were raised to see the world. And then as they get out and they get more exposed to other things, they start realizing how wrong and how corrupt their background was and how they could have done this or they could have done that or this could have been different. Everybody goes through it. But imagine being raised in that environment and then getting out into the world at this age and time when women have rights and people are defending what happened and people are speaking out against it. Why wouldn't you come forward if something like this happened to you a long time ago? But Jarrett, he's always been so manipulative in his family that he's been able to talk his way out of all these situations and having any consequences for all the bad things that he did. Now he's wanting to turn around and pretend, oh, I was just a child. Think about those emails when he says, I was 12. You're trying to hold a 46-year-old man accountable for something he did when he was 12 years old. He wants you to believe this is just a family matter. This was just cousins, kids who ended up touching each other and messing around because they had been abused before. They didn't know that it was wrong. And then by the time they got up to 11, 12 years old, that's when they started getting out around other people and seeing how other families operated and realized how wrong it was and realized it wasn't okay. And then they all came together to put a stop to it. But the victim was a young little girl. She couldn't have been very old at all if Jarrett was 12 years old, right? 5 or 6 years old. And she just couldn't understand what the situation was. She couldn't understand the circumstances behind why it happened. And even though they all forgave each other and they all moved forward, now she's hung up on it and she's built this up over time in her head. And now she believes that it happened differently than it really did because she went through traumatic experiences, and she's having a hard time dealing with this and turning this into, oh yeah, wait, I was 9 or 10. I wasn't 5 or 6. He's going to say she's confused. He's going to say she was 5 or 6. He was 12. He didn't know any better. She's got to prove that she was 9 or 10. As sad as that is, Jarrett in this country is innocent until proven guilty. Now, he admitted to the crime in the emails, but he didn't admit to the age. Now, we all assume, yes, this victim's not making up that age, but that's common sense speaking. Legally speaking, it has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. He doesn't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he didn't do it at that age. She has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did do it at that age. That this wasn't just a family member between kids. Now, you might be saying, what's the difference? If he was 12 and she was 5, that's still horrible. And you're right. You're 100% right. But the difference is how he's charged. What kind of punishment he's going to face when it comes to, did a 12-year-old do something to a 5-year-old? And he gets sympathy in the court because he was abused and he didn't know that it was wrong. And he continued the abuse while he didn't know it was wrong. But then he gets credit and favor in the court because, hey, once he was old enough and he realized it was wrong, he put a stop to it. He ended it. That's the narrative that Jarrett's trying to paint. There's no doubt about it. There's no misunderstanding here. That is going to be his defense. He's going to say, yes, I did it. I was 12. She didn't understand. She was so young. She didn't get the circumstances. She didn't see how us being abused has led to it. We all changed. It's never been a problem since then. He's going to pull witnesses from his family that he's been able to manipulate all his life, and they're going to step up and they're going to take his side. Because if the victim loses the case, what? Everything stays the same as it's always been. If he loses the case, then it crumbles and everything around him falls apart and the success story of the family goes away. So don't trust that we just have this locked up in the bag because it seems like an open and shut case. Money makes wonders, and somebody as talented at manipulating people as Jarrett, really? Listen to him. Listen, go to Ickmel's channel. Watch that video with Jarrett when he's talking to Carson's former employer, when he's telling them how they can't do nothing about it because he's got the upper hand and he's got the leverage and he knows what to do and he's been through litigation 1,000 times and he can handle anything and they ain't got as much money as him, so they can't afford to go through it. That's the type of person you're dealing with. As a matter of fact, we'll stick a little segment in here right here so you can see exactly what I'm talking about with the manipulation and the leverage tactics that he uses on anybody he thinks he can get something over on.
I love the hustle from you guys, all right? I get it. But I also know, like, there may be some bullshit contracts in place with whether we have a non-solicit or non-compete or NDAs or whatever that bullshit is, all right? It just keeps the honest people honest is what it does.
If this is your friend arguing for you, i.e. when it was Carson and he wanted to come out on the new job and Jarrett was standing up for him against his employer who was trying to hold him back, yeah, you think this is great. But when you look at this for what it really is, this is the big guy taking advantage of the little guy and stealing the employee from the little guy.
And it tries to, and it's also written and in favor of the company, which then, if you look up litigation law, is going to take you down a different path as to if it's written in to benefit the company, you guys are already toast.
Now, this is nothing bad on Carson. Of course, everybody wants to move up and move forward, and I'm sure Jarrett spit it in his ear just like he wasn't doing anything wrong and the company was wrong for trying to hold him back.
One is, you guys don't want to spend the money on litigation because I have more adult money than you do. Leaving regardless. Would love to take Carson if Carson's on board, and don't give him any grief. Any type of a hiccup or a hassle at all, I'm going after finances on you guys. I'm going after, data breach. Oh, data breach is a tough one for you guys. Don't F with me. Don't F with Carson is how it comes down to the end of the day.
I also think that those words will be great for the rest of the AWP guys to use against Jarrett. Use his own words against him about the non-competes and how if they favor the company and if they hold you back from doing bigger and better things and how they can't stop you from starting your own thing and doing your own thing.
Because I've written some of the same contracts and NDAs, non-solicits and non-competes and whatever else. As well as, check this out, you guys also have a location thing when you go to court over litigations for non-competes. You cannot restrict somebody from opening up shop or doing what needs to be done in other locations. So we've all acknowledged that you guys cannot meet my needs for traveling across the entire U.S. and back for locations, which then means that you guys have even less of a leg to stand on.
I really hope that when I talked to Nick Wren yesterday that he listened when I told him to go check out that video by Ickmail, because I really believe that that video can help him.
So anyway, in the end, let's make it clean, simple, and we just simply part ways, and we don't make this rough on anybody. It won't be rough on me. At the end of the day, I've got nothing to lose, okay, and everything to gain, and that's where we're at. Talk to you later. Bye.
But if you want to know Jarrett's narrative broke down just in plain English, that's what it is. He's going to use the defense that she's misremembering the time, that she's got it all wrong because she was young and went through a tragic experience. He's going to say that he was abused and molested as a child and his whole family abused him, inside the family and outside the family, parts of the church, neighbors, whoever. They all took turns abusing these kids and these cousins didn't know that it was wrong because that's all they'd ever known. So they grew up together and they grew up touching each other, and they grew up experimenting and testing the bounds of their curiosity out and seeing how far they could go and doing things with each other until they got out into the real public world and they were old enough to think about it and realize, hey, this is not okay. We should not be doing this. This is looked at as wrong by everybody else. And then they decided to come together and put a stop to it. And he's going to portray himself as the hero who put an end to all the sexual violence going on. Do not let him. She is going to have to prove somehow the time frame that this happened, if not from witnesses or something else. She cannot allow him to have a reasonable doubt, because in court, if you can't prove something beyond a reasonable doubt, then you're not going to be able to convict that person. They may possibly convict Jarrett of something he did when he was 12 years old now, but that's going to be a very different sentence than it's going to be if you take a 17-year-old man forcibly assaulting a 10-year-old little girl. Forcibly. Never be consensual. But you have to add in the fact that he forced himself upon her and took what he took from her. It wasn't given in any sort of the way. It wasn't consensual cousin touching, like, oh, we just didn't know any better. This was him saying, I know better, but I can get away with it because I've seen other people get away with it when it came to me. I've gotten away with it when I've done it with other people, so I'm going to get away with it when I do it this time. And if she doesn't want me to, oh, well, she will anyway. I'm 17. She's a 10-year-old little girl. What is she going to do? That's the problem. That's the monster that we're dealing with. That's the person that needs to go to prison. Don't let him fool you with this 12-year-old shit trying to pretend he's 12. I've had a lot of comments of people saying, oh, wasn't he 12? Because they're not able to see the context. And that's Jarrett's side of the story. That's Jarrett's statement. He said his statement was the emails. Well, his statement is the emails, but it's his side of the emails. It's what he said in the emails. He didn't respond to her when she said, no, you weren't 12, you were 17. He didn't respond to that at all. He's going to twist that narrative to make it like she's misremembering. We can't allow that to happen. There has to be more family members that comes forward that can date this. There has to be witnesses that know about this, that were told about this, that know this happened and when this happened, and they need to come forward and back this victim, because this is not as open and shut as everybody thinks, and that's why Jarrett's as cocky as he is by saying the emails are his public statements. Like the video, guys, subscribe to the channel to see more, turn on notifications so you know when I post, and leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you think that this is the defense that he's going to use? Because I can't see any other defense with the way that he's handled it so far. Let me know. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.